Hello, everyone. So I want to answer the questions that Ghislaine did not want to answer during her deposition. So I have the transcript from the whole deposition here, and we're going to kind of go through, look at what the questions were, and then answer them with the cards. See what comes out. As always, this is an energy reading. It's all alleged, my opinion, not facts. Okay. So it's saying that she's appearing today for a deposition. What is her energy sitting at the table at first? As they're reading this beginning part, they're introducing her. I'm going to do that part separately. Okay, so they're introducing her. What is her feelings sitting at the table? Wheel of Fortune is the first card out. And the Chariot. This is going to be really annoying. Okay. So she's sitting very comfortably there, knowing that everything up until this point is going according to plan, and all she needs to do right now is play her role, and she will eventually, much sooner than currently expected, be home free. Is that fair to say? Yeah, Seven of Swords in reverse. If I sit here and play my role, as long as I don't cause any issues, I know what's happening for me, and it means that I'm moving forward a step closer. Basically, how do I translate that differently? Yesterday, her sitting at the table was, all I need to do is plead the fifth to everything, and I know that I'm getting a step closer today, as I sit here, of getting out. Temperance in reverse. A reckless imbalance. Somebody betting it all. Ghislaine was the fail-safe in their plan, if you watched my previous video. Ghislaine was the fail-safe in their plan. Maybe if I remember, I'll put that whole video at the end of this video in case you didn't see it. Anyway, she was the fail-safe in their plan. So temperance in reverse, it's like either Ghislaine was going to roll on everything yesterday if anybody stepped out of line and talked, or she was going to get up there and say nothing. And her getting up there saying nothing meant everything is going according to plan, and it's a signal to everyone that the next step is unfolding. So as she's sitting there, Wheel of Fortune and the Chariot, as she's sitting there, she's feeling very comfortable that things are moving forward because all she needs to do is shut up. Page of Pentacles in reverse. Not give any valuable offering. Five of Swords in reverse, and the battle's done. Yeah. Not give any valuable offering, and as long as she doesn't cause no problems, there's no problems, and there's forward progress. Do we see that forward progress yet? Not necessarily. Does it mean that it didn't happen? No. We'll see it soon. Okay. So, in short, that his client would invoke her Fifth Amendment rights and request for the deposition to occur after the resolution of her Supreme Court petition. Is that just basically this? I kind of get the feeling that it's like the Supreme Court thing had to be in place so that the Fifth Amendment could properly be invoked here without being questioned or being improper. Is that fair to say? Yes, buried truth. Okay. Yes. Okay, so is good faith negotiations and postpone. Okay, so now he's introducing her and making a brief statement and saying that she will respectfully invoke her Fifth Amendment right to silence and decline to answer all questions. Even though she would very much like to answer your questions, she must remain silent because she has a habeas petition, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so as the lawyer is saying that, when the lawyer says she would very much like to answer your questions, what is going through her mind specifically as those words are being said? 8 of Swords in reverse, 10 of Wands in reverse. No, I don't. I'm free from that burden. I knew from the beginning I wasn't going to have to answer those questions unless I needed to take somebody down, but I knew that we had scared everybody enough that that wasn't going to need to happen. Yeah, Ace of Cups in reverse, literal fear. Allegedly. Alleged fear. Okay, so as she's sitting there and hearing the lawyer say she would love to answer the question, she's sitting there like, there was never going to be a circumstance where I was going to have to answer these questions. I was always going to be free from that because that was never going to be part of the plan. I was always going to be sitting here right now as a safety precaution, as a means to continue to scare everyone into silence because I could talk. And the threat of that is enough to scare people into silence, especially with her proximity of being in the middle of a U.S. prison. Okay, one second. Okay, so Miss Maxwell is prepared to speak fully and honestly if granted clemency by President Trump. King of Cups in reverse, 5 of Cups in reverse. There's a plan for Trump to step in and do something. Either put something in place, deny something, approve something, turn a blind eye to something. Trump plays a role here in trying to allow for or cause or uphold some form of manipulation that's going to allow Ghislaine to get out of that cell a lot sooner than what it's currently looking like for her. There is currently a plan in place involving Trump, maybe not to do it completely, but to help take major steps towards what will need to happen for it. Yeah. Information overload and shadow funding. Being paid, accepting money to help add so many pieces of paper to the pile that nobody knows what they're looking for, nobody knows what they're looking at, and by the time she is able to get out, everyone's just looking around like, how did that happen? And they'd have to go back through mounds of paperwork to figure out what led to what that led to her getting out. They have a Hail Mary pass that they are certain is actually going to work for her to get her out way before her time. Emotional manipulation. That's the King of Cups confirmation. For example, both President Trump and President Clinton are innocent of any wrongdoing. Miss Maxwell alone can explain why, and the public is entitled to hear that explanation. First of all, I don't know who would believe this woman at her word. And any proof would obviously be very easily altered, manufactured, whatever else. So much to unpack here. Also, we've seen photo evidence that contradict. Not even talking about Trump. Let's just talk about Clinton. We've seen photo evidence that contradicts what the claim is here. I don't. Anyway, what's the play here with verbalizing that statement that she can clear Trump and Clinton? They all came out on their side. We have Page of Swords, Queen of Cups, 9 of Swords. It's giving kill switch. It has nothing to do with that message, and that being said isn't for Clinton and Trump. That message and that being said is for everyone else. Basically saying, because she's coming up as Queen of Cups sideways. We just had Trump's role in getting her out of there being King of Cups in reverse, manipulation, burying details or confusing details or evading truth about certain details. Now we have swords. This is giving kill switch, panic button, if I have to button. It feels like the whole thing about clearing them is essentially saying full steam ahead on the plan to like everything that needed to be kept silent was, so full steam ahead on the plan to go forward. They need that in place about her saying that she can clear them. How do I word this? They need that in place, her saying that she can clear them, so that there can be other evidence that comes out later, / there can be changes in her plea or her location or her sentence or whatever that are like otherwise unexplained. Yeah, Wheel of Fortune came back out. That came out for her in the beginning. Okay, hold on. I want to do it this way because I want to see like word for word what they're saying. Okay. Court reporter, no shaking your head. It's important you answer each question. Basically, like if you need us to repeat or all of that. If you recall only a part of it, you should give your best recollection. All of this doesn't matter because she didn't answer anything. If you make false statements, you can be subject to perjury. Again, didn't matter because she didn't say anything. You're required to provide all information that would make your response truthful. A deliberate failure to disclose information can constitute as a false statement. Do you understand? Okay, so I'm being drawn back to how I said I feel like the very specific whatever other ruling is in place that made her invoke the Fifth Amendment, or whatever case that is that made her invoke the Fifth Amendment. I feel like that needed to be put in place in the exact timing that it was, knowing that this appearance was going to be when it was. It's like they needed that appearance, they needed that other thing on the record so that she could invoke the Fifth Amendment without being questioned or without it being improper or wrong. Ace of Wands in reverse. Yeah, false start. So I don't have to answer that, and I don't have to answer that, and I don't have to answer that. Okay. Is there any reason you are unable to provide truthful testimony in today's interview? Well, as you know, she's going to take the Fifth Amendment, so that's our caveat to that question. Justice in reverse. A misuse of the justice system. We're putting this in place over here so that we don't have to do what we otherwise would have to do over there. One hand doesn't know what the other hand is doing theory. Yeah, the world in reverse. So you can't complete a cycle. Well, so they can't complete a cycle. Okay. Please note that if you wish to assert a privilege or any statement today, that assertion must comply with the rules of the Committee on Oversight and Government Reform. Technically, did hers go in alignment? The Lovers, yes. Technically, it went in alignment. However, ethically it was set up to be that way because someone had a cheating type head start to know what was going to come when and what needed to be put into place so that certain questions and certain things could be avoided. Is that fair to say? Yeah, 5 of Wands, the battle. Okay, so they're just talking about like how the court thing works. If the chair overrules, 5-minute break. If you need to go to the bathroom, what to do. Hold on one second. Let me pause this for 1 second and find where I need to be. Okay. Hold on 1 second. Okay. So we start off with Miss Maxwell. Were you a close friend and confidant of Jeffrey Epstein? The Hermit. The one and only. I'm shuffling this good because I want to leave it on the desk and just flip. Okay. Were you a close friend and confidant of Jeffrey Epstein? The one and only. Confirm. 10 of Wands in reverse here. The one and only, but I'm not going to have to prove it. I'm not going to have to uphold that burden because her immediate answer was, I would like to answer your question, but on the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer this question and any related questions. My habeas petition is pending in the Southern District of New York. I therefore invoke my right to silence under the Fifth Amendment to the U.S. Constitution. The Sun in reverse, yeah. Not getting nothing out of me. Let the record reflect that Miss Maxwell has invoked her Fifth Amendment. And then, Miss Maxwell, please be very clear. Are you declining to answer the question solely on the ground that you believe the answer will incriminate you? What would her answer really have been? 2 of Swords. Can't answer that because Temperance in reverse. Yeah, same card coming out as before. The Dark Angel card, the Fallen Angel card, the Working for the Darkness card, the I know darn well what I'm doing and I'm doing it anyway card. So what would her answer be? Yes, absolutely, it would incriminate her. I invoke my Fifth Amendment right to silence. Miss Maxwell, did you at any time play any role in Jeffrey's activities involving the recruitment, grooming, or trafficking of young women or girls? What would her answer would have been if she would have told the truth? Page of Pentacles in reverse. If she was going to answer honestly, she would have to say, I was specifically in charge of finding young individuals that I viewed as worthless to dispose of and play a game with. 5 of Swords in reverse. And vulnerable ones that it wasn't a fight against. Sorry, this is like off the screen. There we go. Vulnerable ones that the parents wouldn't fight back, or they wouldn't be, or maybe they would be a challenge. Like no one that would jeopardize what they have going on. So basically, disposable people who would not jeopardize what they have going on. The Magician, yeah. So like she's the one, we know this, but like she's the one that she sets the room and the stage and the tools and gets everything prepared. That's her job. If she had to answer, was she involved in recruitment, grooming, or trafficking? Yeah, she was the one that was getting everything together and setting the stage for it all to happen. Influence mapping. invoke my Fifth Amendment right. Then they're asking her again, why are you? And she's not even answering why she wants to. Miss Maxwell, have you ever coerced, directed, or otherwise instructed any young woman or girl to provide sexual favors to Mr. Epstein or any individual? Six of Pentacles in reverse. Eight of Swords in reverse. Six of Pentacles in reverse is a debt. Eight of Swords in reverse is freedom. Oh, my extra camera was unplugged. I'm like looking at that, like, what is going on? Hold on. Hold on. Okay, I don't know when that unplugged. I wasn't really paying attention to it. But anyway, a debt and freedom. Debt plus trap equals what? For Ghislaine. Secret. I don't know if I can go where my mind is going. What was Ghislaine getting out of her role in this? Bloodline, family lineage, solved. Yeah, I don't know if I can go there. Okay, let me think of how to say this. We are witnessing, allegedly, a chess match between the original 13 most powerful families and the shadow version of those families that we didn't necessarily hear about because they embedded themselves into plain sight. Dismemberment. Dismemberment as in they act a lot lower level than they actually are because they need to be known in the midst of what they're doing. Child trafficking. Do I say what I'm thinking? Party celebration. You know the book A Whole New World? Is that what it's called? A Whole New World? Hold on. I think that's what it's called. Whole New World book. I think that's what it's called. Hold on. No, not Aladdin. Hold on. Let me look in my Kindle or Audible. Where do I have that at? It's something world. Brave New World. That's what it is. Okay, hold on. Let me bring that up on Google. Brave New World book. Brave New World book. Okay, here we go. Brave New World is a dystopian novel by Aldous Huxley. Oh, I thought it wasn't recording anymore. It is. Published in 1932, that depicts a futuristic world state where citizens are genetically engineered, socially conditioned, and kept content through drugs, soma, and pleasure, sacrificing individuality, art, and deep human connection for stability. The story follows a protagonist who challenges this seemingly utopian but oppressive society, exploring themes of technology, control, and the loss of humanity. Is it fair to say that Ghislaine's role was to put a very specific thing in place so that who she is connected to can usher out or begin to usher out their next stage of this plan? That is what they want. So we know, let me pull a card. School lesson, yeah. So we know the math is mathing. We know about the shadow 13 families, right? Powerful families. We don't know about who they're playing chess against. It's almost like some people think that maybe there's more families. Some people think maybe it runs deeper. Some people think maybe it's connection here or connection there. And I feel like there are those things, but I also feel like they are playing chess on the world stage against a completely not talked about shadow. And I think that they're battling it out between who will win. Will it be the like surveillance state that wins, or will it be the dystopian state that wins? I really feel like that's what is at stake from them, allegedly, my opinion. And I think that everything that's been put in place since 9/11, since everything with Epstein, since a couple of the other really big things that's happened over the time period of those, it's all so that when they're ready, they can attempt to usher it in, start to finish as quickly as possible. They're not counting on people banding together and peacefully standing up and saying no. Because they're not expecting people to see what's coming ahead of time. Because they feel like they will win because of quickness. If they can get it start to finish, implement it very quickly, they feel like they'll win, especially if they have a pretty good idea that they believe that we're not going to fight back, which has been tested with the release of the Epstein documents. Am I saying the world's over and we've lost and they've won? No, I'm saying we can't sit here on our hands and hope that those that got us in this very bad situation are going to go start passing laws that are in our favor and doing the right thing. They're not. We need to be the ones to peacefully band together and create some kind of change. There's a lot more of us than there is of them. We can't wait for them to fix it. They broke it on purpose. That's what I'm saying. And I think that Ghislaine getting up here and pleading the fifth when she knows the type of damage that she could do, right? But instead she's getting up there claiming the innocence of people that we've seen with our own eyes are not innocent. So it's meant to be a confirmation that it's much bigger than just what we can see. So when I get back to the original question that I started with here, Miss Maxwell, have you ever coerced, directed, or otherwise instructed any young women or girls to provide sexual favors to Mr. Epstein or any other individual? Her role in this was to make it as bad as possible, and she had endless means being funneled into her to be able to do so, to buy the tools, to set the stage, all of this. Why? They need it to make it bad enough so they could implement certain things that will make their move towards a dystopian future more doable. I feel like the side that we know about the 13 families, it's like, that's the devil you know. What about the devil you don't? I feel like that is the one that's playing on this chessboard, trying to get everything towards what it looked like in A Brave New World book. Setting: a futuristic world state with a rigid castle system, alphas, betas, gammas, deltas, control mechanism, genetic engineering, sleep learning, psychological conditioning, and the mood stabilizing drug, Soma. The island was a testing ground for this. The experiments that they were doing, why everyone was so disposable to them. You don't think there's a bigger purpose? They want us looking at the Epstein Island saying, oh, they're doing all this horrible sexual stuff. What could be worse? What could be worse? What if they're planning on setting up a Brave New World and trapping all of us inside of the little dystopian hell? And they want to distract us with us just thinking, I mean, not that it's not bad enough what we did see, but it's hard for us to fathom what could be worse. What could they be distracting us from? They could be distracting us from the fact that that island was a testing ground to see if they're ready to roll out Brave New World dystopian future. And if we're going to do anything to fight back or not. Because even what if even the 13 families that we view as the big bad controlling everything, what if there's someone that controls them? How do you even fight back against that when you don't even know where it's coming from or who it was? We would need to stand up prior to them putting all of the pieces into place, which means that we can't let the current administration finish out their rolling out of stripping away all of our rights and blaming us for it. If we let them make us believe that we hate each other and that we're scared of each other and that we can't come together, when really, if you look around, they're the ones fighting and causing all the fights. We've come together, like supporting each other. The woman who was calling all the churches asking for baby formula, no one would give it to her, but like people off the streets did. It doesn't have to be the way they tell us it has to be. That's why they're running this great big illusion to make it look like we don't have a choice, when really, I did one of my poems the other day, my old poems that I wrote back in 2020, 2021, it said, we're going to have to show them that fear is weak and love is brave. We don't have to fight back with violence, but we cannot just sit here and hope that those who screwed everything up are going to get up there and start fixing it. Because what they're doing right now is trying to dismantle everything that needs to be dismantled so that they can roll out the next stage of the plan. We have till then to step in and do something. Us waiting is just making it harder on ourselves as they get closer and closer and closer to the goal. They're counting on us thinking we don't have a play. They're counting on us thinking that us coming together wouldn't actually do anything. They're counting on us thinking that we don't make a difference or we can't make a difference. And Epstein Island was meant to be the ultimate power play of that. What they really wanted was a testing ground to see if what they have is rolled out and ready, but it also very conveniently second as a honey trap to get all of the people who had power out of their way when they were ready, which they're showing us they're ready. Our government just told us they eat babies. What else would make us look at the government and say, you know what, this isn't working. This structure is not working. We can't allow this. What else would we need to see other than what we already saw? And what we can only imagine is within the parts that they're still refusing to let us see. And why do you think there's been 0 arrests? If you did any of the crimes that are on this, within these files, if you did any of these separately from the files, just like in a day-to-day life, do you think that you would just be walking around free? What else do we need to see with our eyes or hear with our ears to realize that we have been sold out and we must be the ones to say we're not doing this anymore? We're not participating in a system that is actively trying to delete us. So, Ms. Maxwell, have you ever coerced, directed, or otherwise instructed any young women or girls to provide sexual favors to Mr. Epstein or any individual? She would have to say, yeah. Not only that, but I helped set up the entire playground in which we were experimenting to see how prepared we are for what we want to do to everyone else. If we can just get the surveillance state set up quick enough so that nobody can fight back. If they take away freedom of speech and a drone is right there, you're not going to say anything. Because the second you open your mouth, that drone isn't going to let you finish your sentence. That's the point they're trying to get it to. Disposing of evidence. We know what that means. I don't even need to be... Okay. She invoked the Fifth Amendment. Are you declining because of this or that? Blah, blah. Did you and Jeffrey Epstein attempt to surround yourself with influential individuals to encourage favor and shield yourselves from potential scrutiny? InfoWar, Hall of Mirrors, Contractor Shield, and the Veil in reverse. Yeah, of course. InfoWar needed to get all of the proof, evidence, documentation, recordings, conversations, things they thought they didn't see, website searches, applications for things, whatever. Anything they could get, they would get. Because again, like that drawing that I drew, that I'm going to try and remember to put at the end of this video, the one side that's winning, which is not the U.S. government side, the side that's winning, the side that's currently blackmailing the U.S. government so that they can shut down the stage and change out the set, they were playing for more leverage. While our side is losing, not our side, but the government is losing because they were playing the wrong game, trying to get less accountability. Proof of this is the hundreds of pages of black Sharpie redactions. Not even Sharpie, sorry, just black boxes that you could easily take off redactions. So what would she have to say if she answered honestly? She'd have to say, yeah, anyone we could, we'd get any information we could. Hall of Mirrors is giving, I guess that's called a House of Mirrors. Like on the boardwalk when me and Gavin went in one time and I thought I was going to pass away because I don't do well in like claustrophobic spaces. And once you're in there, like I vividly remember this. Once you're in there, like we went maybe 10 feet and I was like, I can't do this, son. We got to get out of here. And we couldn't because we couldn't find the way back out. So we had to go through. So we followed other people out as I like literally almost cried. Anyway, this was a couple of years ago. Once you step foot in there and you're a couple feet in there, you're done. You don't know which way's up, which way's down, which way's out, which way is back, which way is forward. That's the image that I'm getting. That's why I made this card too. It was not a good moment of my life. I specifically remember it. Gavin was fine. I was not. So once they take a couple steps into this house of mirrors, they can't get back out. You can't tell which way's out. You can follow the voice of other people, but those other people might be leading you right into another trap. Or you can follow like the maybe not voice, but sounds of other people, but they could be lost too. And it feels like our entire government was trapped in a giant mirror maze house. And after they all went in there, who owned this mirror maze house, aka the shadow or the side that's playing chess against the 13 families, right? They own this mirror maze that everyone's trapped in at this point. So then they start filling it with smoke. So everyone's got to try and frantically run out, right? So we see some people coming out real bruised. We see some people coming out all clothes torn. We see some people just running out, heart can't breathe. We see some people getting trapped in the smoke, not making it. It's all a show because they need us to see, oh, look, that's why everyone's going down. That's why everything's falling. So that when it falls, the shadow can step forward. So the Hall of Mirrors was their trap. Get everyone following this rabbit from the rabbit hole. Again, Super Bowl reference, Jeffrey Epstein reference. And then the rabbit runs straight into the mirror maze. Jeffrey Epstein, right into jail. Okay. Ghislaine Maxwell, the only one in jail for Jeffrey Epstein trafficking young females and males. Documentations piled to the sky full of men in the photos, and Ghislaine Maxwell is the only one in jail, who, by the way, is a woman. So it's like, I'm trying to think of like how to word this. They get everyone in, they run the rabbit right into the mirror maze, because the mirror maze was jail. The mirror maze was the trap. Epstein was always going to, and Ghislaine Maxwell was always going to end up in jail. It wasn't like, oh no, we got caught, now we have to go. It was run this plan until this amount of time. You're going to get caught then this is going to happen. You're going to have this court date. You're going to get caught then. You're going to have this court date. This was all pre-planned because it wasn't a trap for Jeffrey and Ghislaine. They were the trappers. Jeffrey ran in to the rabbit hole, got everyone to chase him, and then ran out of the rabbit hole and right into the mirror maze. The mirror maze was the trap. The trap for Jeffrey was jail for a little bit until they could get him out, allegedly. Ghislaine was the last one. She was the one that closed the rabbit hole at the end so that nobody could run back out. AKA, I plead the fifth, I plead the fifth, I plead the fifth. AKA, we're doing the handover to the big boss now. Nobody's getting out. Nobody's getting out of here. As in, like, whoever took a bad deal within the government to sell it to the American people, it's too late for them to turn around and get out of what they did, allegedly. So let me think of what I was saying. So Ghislaine closes the door so that nobody, if they do happen to escape the mirror maze, they can't run back through the rabbit hole and run back out. The door is closed. The option is not there. So we're witnessing everyone run out of the mirror maze. Contractor shield. The shadow protected everyone from their dirty deeds long enough to make them comfortable enough to do dirtier ones, knowing that they were eventually going to smoke bomb that rabbit hole and get everyone to run the only way out, which was right into the mirror maze. The mirror maze is up on a stage. So we are all watching the government scramble and try and make their way out of this mirror maze that they're trapped in with the smoke bomb chasing them. Ghislaine locked the back door. Jeffrey led them all into the maze, and then he's not even here anymore. The veil in reverse. because it is a battle for the mind and free will is at play. So in order for all of this to be in place, we need to agree. They need to get us to a place where we're scared so that when they say peace and safety, we jump on board and sign away our sovereignty. We cannot. That's the point where we need to say, nope. Don't know how we're coming together, but we're coming together because no. That's the point. There's going to be a point after a blackout, and this isn't to scare anyone. This is just to tell you so that you don't have to be subject to what would come with it. Allegedly, my opinion. I feel like there's going to be a blackout. They're going to say it was an attack. It's not going to be an attack. They're going to delete all the Epstein evidence that's left over in the blackout, frame it as an attack, put all of this stuff into place under the guise of peace and safety. They're going to try and force into our environment some kind of heightened surveillance state. It's not the finalized stage of it, but it is a giant step towards it. That is the point when we have the opportunity to say, no, take it down, shut it down. We're not participating in this society until all of this is gone. That is our point. Everyone says, what can we do? What can we do? If we see that happen and we do nothing, it is our fault what we deal with next. Because that would be us giving consent. The government that just showed us their level of untrustworthiness should not be the same government that gets to determine with a flick of a button if someone gets taken out by a drone or if someone's allowed to talk about something that day. Or if they do, if their internet gets shut off or their card doesn't work. These people have shown us that we cannot trust them. If they try to implement that, that is what we must do. We must say no. We must do what Minnesota did in terms of businesses shutting down, schools shutting down, no participation. If it gets to the point where they try and take a step forward towards implementing that, that is the point when we need to say, we will not participate until this goes away. Because if we allow it to go any further than that, we're going into the point of no return. You've seen what AI can do. We haven't even seen close to the limit of what they have in terms of like robotic capabilities, drone capabilities. Do you think they're going to tell us everything they have accessible, ready to roll? No, because then we could try and replicate it. There comes a point where we're going to have to stop participating until we take our power back. And that point must come if they begin to try and roll out a surveillance state. We can't let it get further than that. That's not to scare anyone. That's just to like, that's my opinion on what I believe is going to happen. If you look at everything they're setting up, it makes sense. They needed to build up AI to the point that it's at now. They've been way, way ahead the entire time. But they needed to not shock our system. Can you imagine if we had the AI capabilities that we have now in like 1990, if it just like sprouted up out of nowhere? Everyone would have went into psychosis and lost their mind. Nobody would have been able to process it at that time. Obviously not everybody, but you know what I'm saying. It would have been a huge, a way different rollout, right? They needed to give it to us just long enough, but with enough of their control over it so that they could use it for what it was always intended for. And what it was always intended for was to get us under a control of a one world government and use that as the tool, because you would need constant surveillance. You would need capabilities to shut anyone up or take anyone out at any time. They needed to build it up to that point, and it's at the point now where it's ready. We cannot consent to allowing them to implement it. We can't. They're literally putting everything in place right now, taking away certain rights, adding in certain restrictions or whatever else. If you look at it all cohesively as one giant picture, ask yourself, does it look like maybe they're trying to make it very easily to quickly switch from normal life into a surveillance state when a crisis occurs that they created? Allegedly. Let's go back to this. Are you declining to answer? Because it will incriminate you. Can you please provide us with all of the names of other additional co-conspirators to the crimes perpetuated by you and Jeffrey Epstein? I invoke my Fifth Amendment, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Can you please provide us with all the names of other additional co-conspirators to the crimes? Afraid of the truth, money, change of plans in reverse. Afraid I can't tell you the truth because everybody played their role and shut it up. Afraid I can't tell you the truth because everybody played their role and upheld their end of the shut up. Yeah, imprisonment. I don't know how much more I can say. Okay, imprisonment. She could be using so much information as a bargaining chip to get out of there. Yes, I know that she's saying she wants clemency from Trump and then she'll clear him. But she could also take another route and speak on a lot of things that a lot of people would move mountains to hear her say, right? I'm trying to think of how to word this. Her remaining in the cell is intentional. I'm not saying that she has something that could get her out. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying even if there was, or even if there was some wild trick, the system that they could play, she needs to stay in jail because there's a certain point in this plan that requires her to continue to be a threat from within inside American prison that could dismantle the entire thing with a flick of a switch. I'm sure she has people within that prison that could call a journalist and have something on the front page in 8 seconds if she needed to. She needs to stay right where she's at. She can't get out because she's the other half of the, what do you call that? Insurance plan. Her and Jeffrey are two halves of one insurance plan. Him being alive and her being able to blow the whole thing up at any moment's notice, that's going to keep everyone quiet. Especially when they know you think the 13 families are scary. Imagine their shadow. Confession, making a deal in reverse. Nobody's going to say a word. Allegedly. Apparently, I guess, except me. Fifth Amendment. Ms. Maxwell, is it your intention to answer every question put to you by the committee today with the assertion of your Fifth Amendment against self-incrimination? And to that, she answered, I invoke my Fifth Amendment right to silence. Hotel, motel in reverse. Yeah, not. It's giving I'm exactly where I need to be, and my silence and me being where I'm at is exactly what I need to be doing. It is the plan going absolutely perfectly. The plan that she signed up for from the beginning included her sitting not only in the cell, but in this meeting invoking her fifth. The fifth. It was always from the beginning part of the plan she signed up for. If all goes to plan, you'll be sitting at that table and you'll invoke the fifth because there won't be a need to have everything blow up at that point. You'll still need to sit in the cell and make sure that nobody talks further. But at that handoff point, that's the handing over of the key to the shadow. It was always the plan for her. She knew she'd be sitting there. This is not a surprise to her. Distraction, yeah. And this card always makes me think of the what's his name? What's the show name? The two brothers that are in prison and the one has the writing all over the wall, and they're on a train at one point, and they're trying to escape. The one brother's named Michael. What is that show called? Hold on. TV show, it's two brothers in jail, and they're trying to escape, and the one brother writes a bunch of stuff on the wall. The one brother's named Michael. I don't remember what the other brother's name is. Prison Break. Prison Break. Oh. Prison Break? What's the Prison Break reference? DNA in reverse. It's either only Ghislaine in prison or it's everybody else. Debt in reverse. You owe me. I owe you. Payment rendered. Either it's Ghislaine, either it's one woman in jail by herself for a bunch of crimes committed by men, or if anyone talks, it's everyone else in jail and not Ghislaine. Drugs, poison in reverse, yeah. Like, I'm not giving it to you, but I have it in my hand. Allegedly. And I'm not trying to scare anyone with this stuff, but like, I need you to think, look at what we know these people did. At what point do you think they're going to turn around and have good intentions? We need to be the ones to say, we're going to do this differently and come from a place of peace and collectively work together and not eat the children of our neighbors. So, does the minority want to ask any questions? We're going off record. Then they came back on record. At any point during your personal relationship with Jeffrey Epstein, were you aware that Mr. Epstein was sexually abusing minors and adult women? Private property. I respectfully decline to answer this question and any related questions. My habeas blah, blah, blah. Private property. Next card. Of course he was. What do you think the island was for? Yeah, wealthy, affluent, upper class. For all of the wealthy to do that. Allegedly. I find it ironic that all of this is part of a plan to dismantle the Constitution. They're doing it right in front of our eyes. But it's like they needed it in place for a certain amount of time because they're using it in their favor here. I invoke my Fifth Amendment to the Constitution. Oh, that's ironic because you're literally trying to help break it. Secluded area. Nothing to see here. Yeah, vacation beach abroad, the island. Nothing to see here, island. Have you ever participated in the sexual abuse of any minor or adult women? I invoke my Fifth Amendment. Political in reverse, secret trip. I'm not telling on my friends. Are you aware of Donald Trump ever engaging in sexual activity with an individual introduced to him by you or Jeffrey Epstein? I invoke my Fifth Amendment. Evil, demonic. Confirmation. False flag in reverse, a real flag, it's giving not red flag, evil flag. It only appears the committee will not receive substantive answers from you at this deposition. So I'd like to enter into the record Exhibits A and B that the committee has received from survivors. Their desires for transparency, accountability, and justice in this investigation. Mastermind in reverse. Forensics in reverse. If the plan the entire time was to set up and expose the government, then even the victims, this is bad to say, I think. Let me think of a different way to say it. I feel as though as Ghislaine is listening to the hope from the survivors that there's transparency and justice, I feel like in her mind there's something going on to the extent of, like, in terms of the wider scope of the plan, the victims telling their story actually kind of did help the plan, because the plan was to expose those who were being blackmailed, and the victims told the story about what those who were being blackmailed did to them. They weren't being blackmailed into doing it, but they're being blackmailed into dismantling the government in order to avoid accountability for what they chose to do with their own free will. Allegedly. In custody in reverse. That's why no one's in jail but Ghislaine. Okay, and then they excused her because she wasn't saying anything. I'm going to end this like this. During the Super Bowl, there was a commercial, the dog commercial, where they're looking for the dog, and it's the cameras connecting to the cameras and to the cameras and to the other cameras and everything like that. Basically a surveillance web. This is the Super Bowl where Bad Bunny, I did the video, I believe everything is symbolic. They're obviously going to use the biggest sporting event of the year. I'm pretty sure that's what the Super Bowl is. To promote said symbolism. Bad Bunny, after everyone was just spending time in the rabbit hole. And then immediately, I think it was followed by, I think the surveillance commercial came after Bad Bunny started. But either way, the commercial plus Bad Bunny, I really feel like it's saying, okay, this is the kickoff of the next stage of our plan. The clarification of that is that everyone's going to be in the clear. Everyone that was trapped in the mirror maze that should be in jail right now, because we knowingly know via proof that you did bad things. We know these people should be in jail. Nobody is. How do we know that it's the next stage of their plan rolling out? Because the surveillance state commercial that got everyone's attention is a clarification that whatever web of security that they needed to be in place is in place. It's ready. It's functionable. So that whatever surveillance state they want to unroll or roll out, it's not that it's completely in place, but it's like easily ready to go. Basically, like if you were to set up a stage and you just have to bring the props out in between sets, that's all they need to do. And I feel like the Super Bowl was the kickoff. Ghislaine's silence was the confirmation. And if we do not stand up and come together, that is the consent. jurisdiction shopping, silent treatment, jurisdiction shopping, where do we want to roll it out first? Where do we want to do the testing ground? Like, imagine if how Minnesota was the testing ground for ICE. Imagine if New York was the testing ground for the surveillance state. That's when we need to put our foot down and say, nope. Because if they can get that up and running and functional in one state, it means they're ready to go for all of them. Silent treatment. They're just hoping we wait around long enough for it all to be implemented. Confirmation. Plausible deniability in reverse. They're not even denying their agenda anymore. They're not even denying their agenda anymore. Okay. Please remember that all of this is alleged, my opinion, not facts. Again, I'm not trying to scare anyone. I'm just trying to say we are going to need to say we're not going to put up with this anymore if we want it to stop. With the Epstein Island, they're showing us left unattended, they didn't stop. There wasn't a line in the sand where they said, okay, no one's watching, maybe we shouldn't do this, maybe this is too far. Do you see a point where any individual said, no, this is too far? Any of them? What makes us think they're going to think it's too far all of a sudden when it's a bunch of adults that we already know they don't like us? A bunch of innocent kids they can treat that way. We're seeing how they're treating the adults that they openly don't like. They don't like us either. Look at what they're doing to the country. Other countries have to be mortified. And I know that other countries have bad stuff going on too, but like, ours is writing it down and sharing it with us as like MySpace emails back and forth. And they're still in power. Please remember that this is an energy reading. It's all alleged, my opinion, not facts. I want to note that I very much enjoy being alive. I have no intent on changing that. I'm not going to harm myself or anyone else. Love being alive. This is all alleged, my opinion, not facts. But I do encourage you to look into 1984 and A Brave New World. We just have pages upon pages upon pages about how certain things that were conspiracies before are just typed out like a whole run by run plan. I think we need to really consider that this Epstein thing isn't just a big oopsie. It's all a very planned, intentional, step by step. There were no mistakes. It did what it was supposed to. The easy redactions, supposed to happen. The outrage over the first release, supposed to happen. Certain people being exposed that you didn't expect, supposed to happen. Names being redacted with just the bottom of them showing so you can basically make out what it means, but not really, on purpose. If you look at the picture as a whole and you consider that the goal is to set up a surveillance state, but not by the current administration, a different administration, one that needs to come in and dismantle the current way of being so that it can take a hold. If you look at everything as a whole, you can see very clearly, since certain technological advances, things have been speeding towards roll out AI, get everyone clear of what it is, then quickly get control over it so that it can be utilized as a control tactic. We still have chance to come together. We're much stronger than we realize we are. We just haven't really tried it yet, because there's still people who are sitting around thinking the same group of individuals who has a whole island separate from us so that they can eat children and torture teens in private and then lie about it endlessly to the very institutions that they are obligated to serve, to the very people that they are obligated to serve. We have to believe them when they show us who they are. And then we have to remember who we are. And who we are is a group of very intelligent individuals who outnumber the baby-eating government. And no, I'm not saying violence. I'm actually saying quite the opposite. They're showing us, they've done nothing but show us that violence doesn't work. But no longer participating in the hellscape that they're trying to create for us as one giant trap so that nobody is out of survival long enough or head above water enough to see what's really going on here. We cannot let them implement the surveillance state. Somebody left a comment saying other readers are saying that the institution's falling apart and that peace and love is coming. We are the ones who have to get it there. It doesn't just happen. That's why I'm saying, do you think that those who got it to this point are just going to all of a sudden be like, you know what, let's fix it? No, that's us that needs to do that. That's us. They're not going to do it. They broke it on purpose. We are the ones that need to fix it. But that requires not just sitting around waiting, hoping that they are going to do it, because they're not. And why do we have the power to do that the government didn't have or didn't use or didn't do? Because we weren't blackmailed. They could not stand up to who was against them because they had all had to sell out because they all did bad stuff and were blackmailed. So they couldn't come together and fight for us because individually it would have meant that they would have gotten in trouble for something. We aren't blackmailed. We can still come together. The shadow is hoping that we look at the government and we say, man, there's no point in coming together because look, they all came together and they didn't do anything. No, they are trying to look like they're together while being as separate as possible. It is every man for themselves because every one of them is blackmailed. We're not. We can come together. We can say, we're not going to put up with this. We're not participating in this. And we can make a change because they can't turn around and blackmail us. We did not go eat babies on an island. And yes, I keep saying that phrase over and over and over because it should be uncomfortable. It should be uncomfortable that the very government that's currently in power is the government that provably did those actions. It's not okay. Please remember that this is all alleged, my opinion, not facts. Thank you for watching. I'm going to attempt to explain to you what I think is going on in the world and how I think they are using Epstein and other things as a giant honey trap to trap the government so that the shadow can take over. And I have drawings. That is on purpose. So I did this drawing a while ago, and I did it in a reading. Like, I got it as a channeled drawing. This one specifically with the 1, 2, 3 on one side and the 7 on the other side. I'm going to try and explain it more cohesively. Okay, so we have the United States as the stage. Why is the United States the stage? Because what is needed in order for the ultimate plan to be fulfilled here by what you'll come to see, I'm going to call the line leaders. They needed the capabilities that we now have of AI, cybersecurity, physical security, all of that. That, yes, I understand that it's in other countries and everything like that, but the USA is the stage because it's like the testing ground for what will actually work and not work in like a live forum. So we can roll this out to the American people, we can test what works, what doesn't, and we can see if it's ready to go. That's kind of how America became the stage for this whole operation. As I explained the other time I did this drawing, America's the stage, but everything happens in other places so that things can happen on the stage. Now, the stage needs to be kept more pristine than the other places. So this place, this place, this place, they can just BOMB half of it, wipe it out, no biggie, right? But here, the stage needs to look a certain way because, again, it's the testing ground to make sure that what they're creating in order to gain control and keep control, we're the testing ground in the US to see if it's going to work and what could be any potential pitfalls within it. Now, again, things happen in other places so that they can take place on the, so that certain things can take place on the stage, right? Now, the stage, it's putting on a show. So there's 3 main components here, and those 3 main components are meant to keep everyone looking over here, then over there, then over there. That's how we have so many distractions, because they're coming from essentially these 3 facets, okay? Now, the line leaders aren't necessarily a group from any one country. I personally believe it's 4 individuals, and I think that they are not from the same country as each other. This little hole represents them because it's not a country. It's like they act separate. They maybe even act like adversaries, but then at the end of the day, they come back into their little hole, the line leader group, as I'm calling them in this example, and they cause everything, okay? They are the ones behind the scenes making things happen, pulling the strings. Good things and bad things, when we get a win and we get a loss, right? Because they need certain structures to be in place because 4 people want to take over everyone else, hypothetically, let's say, without everyone fighting back. Obviously, everyone outnumbers 4 people by, you can do the math, right? How can they make sure that they can get and keep power? Well, they need certain things in place, like a surveillance state. They need to funnel the leadership down, right? It needs to be a lot of people, funnel down to less, to less, to less, to less, until it's just to the 4 of them. And it needs to have certain security measures in place, needs to have AI in place, and needs to make sure that they've done all the testing to make sure that any pitfalls are looked at previously. That brings us to the back of my drawing. Now we have 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so this side is USA. This is the stage. We have the 3 different, basically a puppet show, right? Now the spot 1 here, this is the one that's in charge of essentially like the optics, right? I wrote mascot for chaos. So think Trump. Okay, anti-order, because the Antichrist is the opposite of God. It's meant to create a void where there needs to be light, right? So God creates order out of chaos. the Antichrist is going to create chaos out of what could have been order so that the Antichrist can come in and fix the chaos, right? When they say peace and safety, sudden destruction cometh. When they say peace and safety, it means they're ready to roll out the surveillance state and essentially trap. So we have the mascot for chaos, that's number one, and that's the anti-order. Of course, my phone is being so glitchy. That's the anti-order. One second. Then we have position two. This is the piece of the AI. So this is the individual who was in charge of getting the AI and the what will be security and surveillance to the capabilities that it needed to get to. Why are these three pointed out on the map here? Because they're the three main things that were needed to put this plan in place. Chaos and the mascot for chaos, the AI capabilities that were needed, so the brains behind it and the testing behind it, and three, disease. I believe that person one is Trump, person two is Elon Musk, and person three is Bill Gates. I believe that those are the three people that have to take a fall before the shadow can step forward, because those are the three people that at this point know too much about what the plan is, because they had to play a very big role. Am I saying they're the only ones in their camp? No, they have a whole team behind them, and that's what we're seeing being taken out right now. So now this entire time, this side thought that they were winning because they were trying to get less accountability. For example, the Epstein list, okay? This side was playing this game the entire time thinking, oh, if I just have no accountability or less accountability, I'm winning, I'm winning, I'm winning. Not realizing that they were actually playing a game the entire time against this side. This is not the US. This is the line leaders. This side was playing a different game altogether. They were trying to get more leverage. What is leverage? Secrets. Where did they collect these? Epstein Island, for example. The Epstein Island, the honey trap of the Epstein Island is the anti-Antichrist, okay? What do I mean by that? I mean that the ones who want to come in and take power needed to create the chaos, create the island, design the island, and then let everybody do the bad stuff as they blackmail them. They foster it, they create the circumstances, and they pay for it. They get everyone to go there and do that so that they can collect leverage, because they continue to think that they're winning when they just aren't being held accountable, not recognizing they're actually playing against this side that's collecting leverage and going to win. How does this side win? This side wins when they have enough leverage and they come in and they say, hey, you guys, you actually aren't winning at all because we have all the secrets, all the leverage, all everything, and now you're going to do what we want, aka blackmail. How was this done? Epstein and Ghislaine, they each had half of a list that was provable. What is this provable list? Some kind of physical DNA evidence mixed with some kind of video evidence that is undeniable proof that the list that our government swears up and down doesn't exist not only exists, but it exists with people willingly signing up for it. Okay. So Ghislaine and Jeffrey were kind of the inside. Jeffrey was the rabbit in the rabbit hole. The line leaders, in order to, again, they needed the testing ground, but then right before the finalization of everything, they need to take everyone down who would know too much, especially because a lot of these people really would try and do a power grab if they could. The line leaders are making sure that that is not an option. How? We're seeing it play out with the government right now. Hold on, let me go to the other video. So the line leaders come in, they have enough leverage, they come in and they say, hey, all of you guys, we have enough to put you into international tribunals, jail, custody, whatever, okay? So either you're going to do what we want, or you're just going to go down for what you did that we can very easily prove. So because everyone in the government was so easily tempted and then also subsequently so easily bought out and took the path of trying to avoid accountability, because remember, that was the game they were playing the whole time. They were trained to just avoid accountability. So the second they were offered an out, they took the out. What's the problem? The problem is that all of them needed an out at the same time, because they all went to this party island, and it was structured so that it would be all of their downfall from the very beginning. This isn't like, oh crap, we got caught. This is like individuals designed this to eventually blow it all up to get everyone into the trap. What was the trap? The trap of the using a honeypot to not only distract the audience, but also the individuals in the play. Okay. They used Epstein as the rabbit. He went down into the rabbit hole. Everybody look at me, look at me, look at me, right? That got everyone's attention, and also everyone chasing the rabbit. The rabbit wasn't the real rabbit. The rabbit, Epstein, when leaving the rabbit hole, after they blew up the rabbit hole and everyone had to run out, Epstein hands over his proof, his evidence, his get out of jail free card, aka his version of the list that they're claiming doesn't exist. He hands that over to his bosses. Now, what's the only other piece in place? Okay, everyone needs to be silent until Ghislaine goes and pleads the fifth. If anyone runs their mouth and talks before she has her day, which means that the plan up until that point is complete, if anyone talks when they shouldn't, then Ghislaine can just blow the whole thing up at her hearing. She pled the fifth because no one stepped out of line, aka confirming that that part of the plan is now done. What does that mean? It means that the bosses of Ghislaine and Jeffrey now have what they wanted to have. That was the whole point of the island the entire time, which is the hard proof that could take everybody and anybody down. And now it's too late for anyone to stand up and do anything, because our entire government was blackmailed all at once, and they were all too greedy and frankly disgusting morally to see it. And so what does the shadow want? The shadow, in order to step forward, again, the shadow is the Antichrist. The shadow is going to try and say, I'm fixing things. What does that require? It requires things to be a big old mess. So in this blackmail, the shadow is essentially saying you need to dismantle your own constitution, essentially, so that when the shadow steps forward, the shadow can say, no, we're going to fix everything. However, peace and safety, but we need to do XYZ. What's XYZ? Combine church and state so that nobody can fight back when they eventually inevitably put what they want to put in place. What do they want to put in place? A surveillance state. Why do they want to put in place a surveillance state? So that we separate from spirituality and we follow blindly the authority that doesn't let us think for ourselves. Think 1984 to the max. You can't step out of line because they'll just disappear you. And now that the United States has been in such a chaotic state, they can use that as an example of why they want to push certain values, which is not what everyone's in alignment with. Our entire government has sold us out because they are blackmailed. They are not coming to save us. They are not going to fix it. They are continuing to dismantle it until the shadow is ready to step forward. When is the shadow going to step forward? The shadow is going to step forward after there is some kind of blackout, because they need a blackout to get rid of the rest of the evidence. And then the blackout's going to be framed as an attack, which it will not be. It will be a purposeful blackout, but it will be framed as an attack so that they can try and seize power, and then the shadow will fully infiltrate. The Constitution was put in place way back then with a government that was already infiltrated. Look at what we're going back to now, pure racism. Look at who was a part of writing all these things. It was put in place by an outside force. It was designed to fail because they want us believing that those are the rules that they're playing by, as they actively dismantle them in front of our faces. Everything has been a test. The heavily redacted release, and then the ability to further redact it yourself, and then the next redaction. It's been a trickle. Can they handle this? What will happen? What will happen? Like layers. Will they fight back? Will they band together? What will they do? If they're going to fight back, it's going to be now. It's going to be when we tell them that we have been doing all of these things to children and lying to their faces. If they're going to fight back, it's going to be now. It's not our government testing us, it's who they have been blackmailed by. The next test is going to be the midterm elections. Can they scare us away from the polls? And I really fear that that's the last test that they really need to figure out how to roll out what they're ready to roll out. Allegedly, my opinion, not facts. And if they can just keep us divided and fighting each other over the stupidest stuff, well, then it just makes their job super easy. Allegedly. And if you listened all the way and you're still sitting here like, no way, I want you to look at the first release of the Epstein files. Or just get a blank piece of paper and draw Sharpie all over it. It'll be the same thing. And I want you to ask yourself, does this look like a group of people who would do anything to avoid accountability? Including release an entire document dump full of black redacted lines to the American people who already feel betrayed. I'll answer for you. They absolutely would do anything to avoid accountability, and they showed us that to our very faces. Do not allow them to make you not believe your own eyeballs and your own ears. And if you are right now already, maybe go read 1984. Quite literally. The New World Order is global domination all at once in one clean sweep, and the USA is the stage in which they are rolling this out. And it's the stage because it is the show. It is what they are using to prove to the rest of the world that we all have to be under the control of one order. Because if not, you never know, you could end up like the United States of America. Imagine, if you will, that there's a stage. Okay, stage. Now imagine that there's a bunch of balconies around the stage. Stage, balcony, 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 balcony. Now imagine that each of these balconies have a balcony leader, like a line leader, okay? The line leader keeps everyone in line. And in the year of 2025, the line leader is probably also an egotistical narcissist. So they also want to dominate everyone in here. But anyway, so there's a stage. There is a secret room where the line leaders all gather and they work as a team. Now, when they come back onto the stage or onto their own stages, they don't talk about this secret room and they don't act like they're on the same team. That is part of the show. This is the main stage, but sometimes the cast and crew will do one of those little walk downs and go into the crowd and come over here or come over here. But really the main focus is here. Even when the focus is here, 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 it's so that they can do something on the stage here. This is the United States of America. Now the line leaders all gather in this little place and they determine what the next scene should be on this stage so that they can figure out how to get this stage to be the reason why all of the balconies and this stage are all under their control. This is their, well, you don't want to become like that, do you? Now, these balconies are also a mess, right? Because on these balconies, the power imbalance is a lot different. Not different as in more favorable, but just different as in the line leaders on the balconies are able to do a lot more destruction because that's not the stage. They can just wipe things out because it doesn't really matter what's happening here. because this, again, is all happening to feed into what needs to happen on the stage. So if they need to kind of like quick wipe out a whole section over here, doesn't really matter because that's not the stage. And if this wiping out serves the plot of getting something to happen on the stage, that they need a reason why it's happening, they need to be able to say, well, that got knocked out over there, so now we need to take some kind of action, because what if they're coming for us? Or what if part of ours gets knocked out? We can't have that. The stage. So they can do kind of different things in these other places, but on the stage, it needs to remain mid-scene. It can't be just destroyed, because it needs to be shown destruction. Instead of destruction that evaporates, it needs to be destruction that you can see, because the stage is providing the reason that these line leaders need to have everyone under their control. Look at the stage, look at the rest. This is what is going to happen. Now, at the same time, they need to put on a show that makes sense, right? So each of these, they said, let's play Battleship. Let's play Battleship. Okay? You know, the game where there's the little board and you can't see where the opponent's ships are. They get to put them wherever they want. But then you pick coordinates to try and see if you're going to hit one of their ships or not. Now, apply that to politics. But add in my drawing from the other day. Let me do another one. Now, we have the world stage on this side, okay? Held up by 3 pillars, because they need more than one thing going on. Because they need each main act to be playing off of each other. Do it for the plot. You get what I'm saying? To get everyone's attention and keep the show going. This side is one of these balconies. Okay. Now, they're playing Battleship. This is the Battleship. This is what we're seeing. A different outside team affects inside of the stage, so that the stage has something to respond to, something to do, a show to put on, if you will. A response, a back and forth. Now, remember, this side, we found out, was playing a whole different game than this side. Because this side thought that they were winning if they just had less accountability. So this person in this position has one thing real bad, can't recover from. This one has it from 2 directions. This one has it from 3 directions. This one has been playing a different game the entire time. The group of line leaders. It's not balcony versus balcony versus balcony, balcony stage. It's not them. It's line leaders versus everyone else. They just don't feel like everyone else realizing that we overpower them. So they're trying to put something in place where the whole system's working in their favor to make it so that we don't have another choice. Battleship. Now, this side, aka the line leaders, they've been playing a different game all along. They want to have more secrets on who? Everyone. These people, everyone on the stage, and everyone in the crowd. Because the more secrets they have, the more leverage they have. And the more leverage they have, the easier it is to flip the whole system that's already technically won, because the line leaders are joined in secret. But this is already kind of set up to follow the line leaders' paths, because the line leaders are in place in high positions in each of these balconies and the stage. Now, the more secrets they have, the more leverage they have. What makes us tick? What can't we lose? What pisses us off? What gets us to fight? studying us, essentially. And then they're going to use it to put a system in place that we won't see coming and we won't know how to fight back against. More secrets gives more leverage. And this is the line leader group that these, to us, powerful positions never stood a chance against, because they got a low score of accountability thinking that they won. Essentially, they sold out thinking that less accountability would make them the winner, not realizing that they weren't battling a fair play, because these line leaders are orchestrating all of the chaos in all of the places for a plan that nobody else is seeing but them. This side has already won, because even if this side starts collecting secrets to try and catch up, one, they're too far ahead, and two, they already have this side, they're not catching up. Because this side is scrambling now to cover for the accountability that they know that this side is going to expose, when this side is ready to take the line leaders onto the stage and say, look at how bad the world has become. You all need to follow us now. You have no other choice, because we studied you. We put something in place that you wouldn't see coming until it's too late. We put on the show for long enough. And now the shadow is going to step forward onto the stage to say, you have no other choice than to follow into us, because chaos means that we, the line leaders, are the only way to protect you. Allegedly. I just thought of something that I want to add to what this comment is from. It's a video where I'm talking about the world stage. USA is the stage. We're putting on a show for everybody else so that the little group of line leaders can get control over everyone else by putting a system in place that no one sees coming until it's too late, and then they don't know how to fight back against. We see this play out as world stage having different things playing off on each other, going against a different adversary, which is just essentially the line leaders group. Now, if I was this group of line leaders and I was cutting off access, or starting to cut off access from the rest of the world so I can get my group of people under control, knowing that we're essentially going towards one world order, and that's a lot easier if each group is subdued. How then do you really use the USA and everything that's happening within it as an example? Land of opportunity. They had all that opportunity, and look what they did with it. What do you think the line leaders are going to go back to their different balconies and show the people? To be like, look, they had all of that chance and opportunity and just threw it away. They're showing them the TikTok trends. That's why they're created. It can sound as crazy to you as you want, but hear me out. So many people in the country have money in their bank account just sitting there for extended periods of time that could probably solve a whole state's worth of hunger. And there are children in schools not eating. Now, when these are watching this play and being told about this play from the perspective of someone who wants to use that for control, so they're making this look even worse, right? If that's possible. They're going to these group of people and they're showing them these trends as an example of what do you want to have everything and have full control and become like that? Look how silly they look. And they seem to us like silly little trends. The one going around right now that I'm really referencing, and it's ironic in a way because this one's happening, coinciding something that's happening in the government, certain pictures and certain accusations, right? of inappropriate behavior between a president and a past president, at the same time as the trend going around where the one person says, I don't stick anything in my butt but my partner, and then the partner answers a different question altogether, but it looks in the video like they're listing stuff they stuck in their butt. We're a laughing stock of the world. We already are, and maybe that piece isn't coming yet, where they're using the trends to try and prove a point of why they don't want to become like America and why they have to have control. Like, the leader here will say to these people, look, you don't want to be like that. They had everything, the land of opportunity, and they have children starving, and yet this is what they're doing. Proof is in the pudding. These are the people, and this is what they're doing. They know that children's starving, and this is what they're doing. They know that they're not focusing on the right things, and this is what they're doing. They're hoarding wealth. This is what they're doing. They're sitting on lives all day, bringing no purpose to the community. This is what they're doing. They're going to use that to say, look, we, line leaders, have structure that will benefit you. Peace and safety. You won't waste your time like the land of opportunity that threw it all away. And they don't even need to prove it. We prove it for them. That's why every celebrity that gets to a certain level falls apart. Because the line leaders need to show the rest of the world, look, what are you going to just run free with riches? Look what happens when you do. And because there's war and destruction and all of these, well, you don't want that either. And you can't handle riches. So let us line leaders, let us control you. One world order. Our social media plays a big part. It's what is going to be used to convince these masses to fall in line. The ones that need to. The ones that would be persuaded in that way. Of course, the other ones will go along with things just to not be under destruction. But think about the trends. And think about the times. And think about how that makes us all look. The world should be stopped right now. We're seeing them try and push us into I don't know what that is. That was my cat's automatic water thing. Anyway, it was empty. They're trying to push us onto the brink of war so that they can come in and say, peace and safety, you need to follow us. And they need us to be fully depleted and sick of dealing with anything by the time we get there, so it's easier for them that we don't fight back. They're using social media against us here to keep us distracted, to make us believe we're climbing some kind of ladder in which whatever they're planning on bringing isn't going to affect a certain level. It's going to affect all levels. It's line leaders versus everyone else. Their golden ticket is the system that they're putting in place. All of this, the entire show, is to put the system in place. Because once the system's in place, they just tighten it and tighten it and tighten it until it's too difficult for us to fight back. Because they will just literally have the ability to take you and put you away somewhere for no reason. Surveillance state. They want to watch everything that we do because it's line leaders versus everyone else. And to get there, they need each of these places in a surveillance state. Once each of them are in a surveillance state, the line leaders effectively have the entire system in place. Then they just need to tighten their grip. Allegedly. What we're witnessing right now is not the government getting caught with their pants down. What we're witnessing right now is the planned downfall that's falling apart as it was intended to. Because they're gauging our reactions about whether or not we'll fight back, when quite literally slapped in the face by realizing that we placed our trust in a whole body of adults who cannot be trusted. Please hear me out because I have a theory on this. Okay. In a reading a while ago, I drew this. And essentially what I was saying was that there was two sides and they were essentially playing battleship. Now, this side is the grand stage, aka the United States of America. This side is the foreign power who is actually the one calling the shots on the stage, because this is a group of line leaders from all the different countries that have come together, and they are the ones actually in control of all of the countries. Now, the USA is the stage, the world stage. It's why everything else is happening, because they need to seize control quickly in one swift grab. So they're having everyone pay attention to the United States while everything else gets in place for this one quick sweep grab. Okay, so this is the United States stage. There was three main pieces or three main players, okay? And their goal was to get less accountability. They have been playing a game where winning thus far has been to have less accountability. They are now playing a different game altogether because now they're on this entire stage instead of just this half. In this game, these line leaders are playing by a different standard altogether. They're not going for less accountability. They're going for more secrets or leverage on who? Everyone that's not in their group. So all of the other world leaders that are not part of the line leader group, they have been collecting secrets and everything possible on literally everyone else. And their score is very, very high. They have a lot. Enough to get anyone to basically do anything because they have enough on them to take them down any other way. Even if they started trying to play this same game, they are way too far ahead for this side to catch up. What does that mean? Our government is no longer in control of our country. The line leaders are. Now, how does Jeffrey Epstein come into play here? Jeffrey Epstein and company always, from the beginning, was a play put in place by the line leaders. This is not, okay, all of a sudden the ship started to sink and everyone's jumping off. This is, hypothetically speaking, the Titanic. It was set off to sink, allegedly. So the line leaders, from the very beginning, sent in Jeffrey and company to help them with their task of getting more secrets and leverage. They, since they were playing a different game, kept thinking, oh, if I do something or take a bribe or do this or that, and I just get away with it, I'm winning. All of a sudden, they're playing a different game, and now they have enough to expose them regardless of what they got away with before. Cue things like the Epstein documents. Now, why would this be happening? Well, the line leaders want to do a quick sweep of one world order implementation throughout the entire globe all at once with little to no resistance. How do you get it there? You get the population subdued and then you test to see if they're subdued. Q, redacted documents. Q, Trump literally passing the law and then turning around and breaking the law. The one he just passed about the Epstein documents. This was meant to test our extreme version of reactivity. Basically, they said, the line leaders said, hey, if we use this Epstein, which was the point of this whole buildup, to backhand the American people by showing them that they put their trust in someone who did not have a bottom on the bucket that we were putting the trust into. We were putting it in and it was going right out the bottom of the bucket. They showed us that all at once, and that was meant to be the extreme version of our reactions. This has been building up for how long? There's so many people involved in this. There's so many different facets involved in this. This was the slap in the face that was meant to see if we would react quickly enough and in coming together enough. Basically, they're testing, will we potentially do anything to stop them if they come in to implement the surveillance state? Because that's what the goal is for the one world order. It's to implement a surveillance state under the guise of peace and safety. And what is a surveillance state? Well, everything's fine if you do what they want, if you say what they want. But the second you don't, I mean, you're being surveilled at all times, and there are no repercussions to them just snatching you, removing you, and who knows where you went. Not your family. They want that in place because once that's in place, they just tighten the grip on control. It's the line leaders. They need that initial sweep to go well. And the Epstein redacted documents was the test to see if we were going to react quickly enough to stop them before they go from where we're at right now to a full surveillance state implementation in a 72-hour time frame. Am I saying that's happening in 72 hours from now? No. I'm saying when they decide to do it, they can do it from start to finish in under 72 hours. And we just showed them we're not going to fight back. Now, why would they do this, right? Why would this be the approach, right? The entire thing has been to figure out how to lead us down the path into making it too hard for us to fight back, with the surveillance state being the last step. They're in the stage now where they're phasing out the current leadership so that they have room to step forward. We are not catching the government with their pants down. This was 100% the plan from the start, to send him in. The group of line leaders sent in Epstein so they could collect secrets and leverage and wipe out any type of opposition, so that when they come in to do the clean sweep and implement the surveillance state so that nobody can fight back, and if you do, you're just gone. This was the final test to see our reaction. This was the height of everything. The documents, the Trump stuff, all the division that they tried. It came to a culmination point. And what they saw from us was that we're not going to fight back. My opinion, not facts. I had a dream last night, and I think that we're looking at it wrong. My mom just texted me the snow is late. We're late to realize something about ice. Not weather ice, people ice, Gestapo ice. In my dream, I don't know what's happening here, just ignore that. In my dream, I was being shown it as we were all at, like, I guess it was the Olympics or something, but like the entire country, the entire population of the US was sitting in the stands. It was like the Olympics. I think it was basketball in my dream. Or hockey. It was one of them. It might have been hockey that we were watching. Anyways, we were sitting there watching these two teams go back and forth. And it was like representatives from our group, from the population, and then the government playing out on this stage that was surrounded by everyone watching, right? And in my dream, it was counting down to like the final seconds of whatever this was. And all of a sudden, it's like the score was very close, or it was even between us and the government. And then within the last like couple minutes of this game, another team came out of the tunnel. Like there was another team lying in wait that it's like they wanted to, it's almost like if the score was 1-1, they wanted to come in, score twice, and steal the game, even though they hadn't been playing the entire game, or they'd been hiding the entire game. And the message of my dream was, it's not just us versus the government. It's us versus the government versus the billionaires, and that is separate from the government. The government was bought out by the billionaires so that the government could be taken out of the game in the last couple minutes, and the billionaires could take their spot and win. That's why they're no longer following rules such as the Constitution, because we're not playing with the government anymore. We're playing with the billionaires that bought out the government. And we need to realize that before it's too late. It's not about doing what's right or legal or ethical or moral. It's about money. And we are dollar signs to them. That's why the ICE agents are getting bonuses for how many they arrest. They too will be in the trap that they're setting for us after we have been lessened. They're counting on us thinking that we're still playing against the government when we're not. The billionaires have bought out the government, and they don't give a shit about the Constitution. Hey, you know how they say that they put the truth in the movies and the TV? Are we in an episode of The Handmaid's Tale? Because I fear we may be. Listen to this. They suspended the Constitution. They said it would be temporary. Nothing changes instantaneously. In a gradually heating bathtub, you'd be boiled to death before you knew it. We didn't wake up. We didn't wake up when they shut down Congress. We didn't wake up when they blamed everything on national security. We didn't wake up when they said it was for our own protection. We only noticed when it was too late. Now we go to the announcement part. This is paraphrased. Effective immediately, the Constitution of the United States is suspended. All rights previously granted to citizens are hereby placed under temporary military review. Tell me that this is not what they're setting up for. This action is necessary to restore order and protect the nation from international threats. What just happened yesterday? All financial assets, not like we're having a financial crisis, communication systems, and identification records will now be overseen by the newly established Sons of Jacob Security Council. Congress is dissolved. Civil courts are dissolved. Elections are postponed until stability can be restored. Public gatherings are prohibited without authorization. Unauthorized movement will be restricted. All citizens are required to comply with military directives. Which military? The ones without names and covering their face, that refuse to identify themselves, that we don't even know if they're from here or from the national security that's supposed to be for here but is actually in Israel. Those. These measures are not permanent. They are steps toward a purified and secure nation when they say peace and safety. We assure you that God's order will be restored and those who remain obedient will be protected. May the Lord open. I don't think I need to explain that further. You get it, right? You can see it, right?